And welcome back to Ralston Live. I'm John Ralston, and we're here. We finally got a hold of John Chaykin. It's great to see you, John. Thanks for coming on Ralston Live.
My pleasure, John. Great to see you too.
We're talking about the Danny DeGennaro Foundation, which from year to year has exciting things going on, but this is unprecedented, the things that are going on. First of all, let's talk about how you knew Danny DeGennaro.
Danny was best friends with the president of our foundation, Ed Miro. They grew up in Thornridge, Levittown together. And my brother Paul was in that network with them. There's about 5 or 6 guys that were, considered best friends. And so Paul was 6 years older than me, but Danny was 4 years older than me. So he would come over to the house, play guitar. I was a little kid, just in awe of this guy. He was a local legend. And, and I had just started playing drums, and it was really, really special to me. And then as the years, went by, there was several meetings per year where I'd run into him at my brother's house. And eventually I got to the point where I picked up a guitar a few years later, and he started giving me some guitar lessons, which was really cool. And then I was old enough to start going to bars in Trenton when I was 18 and he was 22. And the band, the Torpedoes, the local band, the Torpedoes, were just amazing group. David from the Hooters was in that band.
Wow, that's incredible.
And as a drummer, I was, David, and he started giving me drum lessons. So I was really, at that point, there was no turning back. I always loved Danny. Then I fell in love with David. And so I always followed Danny as his greatest fan. But Danny had 1,000 people who thought they were his greatest fan, Yeah. So I was lucky enough to be in that world with him. And then it kind of rolled into a different band, the Rio de Janeiro band, in the early 80s, where me and Danny's brother, Gary, who I graduated high school with, we were the sound engineers and roadies. And Bobby Chenard from Billy Squier Band was his drummer in that band. But a lot of times Bobby didn't come down from New York for the weekend gig, and I got to play drums with that band.
Wow, so, that's fantastic.
So that was some of my most important times of my life right
So
there.
That all started out from age 10, huh?
Yeah, well, age 10, I started playing drums. I was probably introduced to Danny when Paul was probably 17 and I was, 11, 12. Yeah, so a young kid, looking up to this guy, and, he was always so special to me.
So what kind of clubs did you get to play at eventually?
Well, the best one was the Chestnut Cabaret in Center City, Philly. But in Levittown, it was Vernon's and Maddie's Place. They were the two he played at all the time. And that every weekend was a different bar, but we were always going back to they were the two that we played at the most. But also the Warminster Abbey was another one where David was playing drums with us for those gigs, and David just knew I was sitting in for Bobby. So David actually said, what songs you want to play on tonight? Like reluctantly, but they were my drums. I was a roadie, but I also rented my drums for the night every time for those, the real rock stars.
All right. You got a little cash and you didn't even have to perform.
Yeah, I got double cash. I got roadie cash and rental cash. So.
That's awesome. Now, there's a record label being formed. It's already formed, I guess, the Danny DeGennaro Foundation record label, and you're serving as A&R director.
I am now. So about a month or maybe 6 weeks ago, Eddie said, John, we just established our record label and you are the A&R director. I'm like, oh, thanks, Ed. Like, can we talk a little bit? But it was really, it's an honor, but it's just like, wow. So, I'm more than pleased to do this. And like you had said, these crazy times, it's not like I'm going to go find a bunch of people playing in bars or clubs or wherever right now. But I do have a couple people already that are really good candidates to join us. And we're just getting started.
Just to rehash, Danny DeGennaro Foundation is a nonprofit organization. They've been on my show since the early days. It's been going on 5 or 6 years now. And
2014.
Yeah, and it's named for the late singer-songwriter and guitarist Danny DeGennaro.
Yeah.
For more information, you go to DannyDeGennaro.com.
Correct.
So now, what is new with the publishing arena?
Well, what we're doing now is we're taking the kids that's coming out of the college, especially the scholarship winners, and we're bringing them to a studio up in Percy, PA called Sunlight, S-O-N, Sunlight Studio.
I've heard of
So,
that.
yeah. So we'll produce their songs, or we'll give them songs to work with. We'll play the instruments for them if they need us to, but we're really just mentoring them and giving them exposure through this studio, and eventually also shooting some videos with them and pushing them out, onto YouTube. So it's a great place for the kids to get started. I used to hear the nightmare stories in the old days. Oh, I signed a record deal and we sold 4 million copies of that single, but I didn't make a cent on it.
Yeah.
Well, we're starting with that. We're saying, not us. Like, we're going to make you avoid those mistakes, and we tell them why and how. So yeah, we're really a good place to start for these kids. And like, we're not making money. All the money goes right back into the foundation to support these younger musicians.
Now, we had Casey Wellborn on. He's going to be part of that?
Yeah, he absolutely is. He's already been in the studio. He acts, like I was saying, we had an event Saturday night in Fairless Hills, and Casey opened the show for us.
That's great.
Dynamic young kid, yeah. But he's been recording, and some videos coming out. You can hear some of his music on Spotify and iTunes and even Amazon Music.
And and you can look for Casey Wellborn on Spotify, especially. And now, you're still doing the music scholarships through the foundation?
Yep. Now, I don't know what's going to happen this year with college the way it is, but I think we'll probably by the springtime still be able to make that happen. And it's not only music for the scholarships now; it's also artists. So we're also bringing artists through and giving them scholarships. There's 2 winners a year, one for music, one for art.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. How about songwriting?
Songwriting, we actually have some songwriting workshops that one of the founding members of the foundation, John Mulhern, has been conducting these songwriting workshops. I actually attended one last year just to really kind of observe, and he does a really good job. And there was 18 kids in there really interested, to get started, so it's really cool. So we're helping them that way too. One of the most exciting things that I've seen come across lately was Eddie and the group are in talks with Carlos Santana, which is obviously a huge name. There's a connection. There's a connection with his management and our people. So it's not out of the question that this is going to happen. We have a great Danny song that's right up Carlos's alley called "Standing on the Moon," and boy, if that hits, that'll really get us on the map.
Yeah, tell us more about the 17-song album that you're putting together.
So this is something that Danny recorded. It's an acoustic set of songs that he recorded probably around 2010 or so. Just a fairly simple recording, but I got to tell you, the way Danny was with his talent, all you got to do is press play on the recording machine, and you're going to come up with some gold. And I actually have a copy of this, like a bootleg, if you will, but we all have a copy. It's beautiful music. It's 17 songs that you could play, and it's Danny and his guitars, and it's just a really special set of songs.
Yeah, I took some time last week to go to YouTube and catch up on some of the things that they have available there on YouTube. Yeah. And, it's just the kind of music that I love is, blues and rock and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And, what qualities do you look for in a musician when you're trying to qualify somebody for this program?
It's interesting. It's an interesting question, because that songwriting workshop, I was kind of blown away. John had everyone stand up with their instrument if they wanted to play one of their songs if they had something, and everyone did a little bit. At one point, 3 girls in a row got up, and I couldn't believe how good these kids were. So with every artist, it's going to be a little different. But you know, when you hear a song, it really is all about the song, John. You hear a song and it could be simple and it could be Steely Dan type of complicated, but it's got to hit you in your heart and in your ears, and you know you like it. So it's all about the song for me. I love it, you know. And you say you like rock and blues, and that was Danny. Danny was Eric Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan put together. He was that rock blues, amazing artist.
Yeah, I was very impressed with, his repertoire.
Yeah.
He even had a little Motown
Yeah.
built into the back of that, which I have a huge appreciation for.
Yeah, Danny was very soulful, so you'll get that out of him too. But he also was a ballad guy. Now, I grew up, and Danny I think he was the one who first turned me on to Jackson Browne, and he's always been my favorite since then. And I'm a ballad guy, so I love to hear a beautiful ballad. And these three girls got up and sang 3 ballads in a row, and I'm like, boom, boom, boom. These girls are great. So I like a good song. You know what you like when you hear it. I also think, if they want to get to the point where YouTube is involved, that you have to have some kind of performance value, whether you're moving along or whether you have a certain look, that really helps you, with their eyes, open their ears, because I think that's really important. If they have a certain look to them, or the way they move, or that you can just tell in their face that what they're saying, they really mean it. And,
now, I kind of think I know what you're going to say here, but what was it about Danny DeGennaro that kind of still resonates today?
Okay, so I just watched a 3-hour Stevie Ray Vaughan special on Access last weekend, and no one played a guitar like Stevie, except Danny. So Danny would just blow you away with lead guitar, like so special, like the licks that he would come up with. I could just sit there all night and watch Danny play guitar. But Danny was a star. He had it all. He had a great look, but boy, his voice. But I would say that, and he did too. A couple times when he wasn't the star, he played with Kingfish, who was like a subsidiary of Grateful Dead.
Mm-hmm.
He played with the James Montgomery Blues Band out of New England, where he met the Billy Squier drummer, Bobby Chenard, when he was just a lead guitarist. So Danny could have made it just as a lead guitarist because he was so special. But the guy just, for 2 hours, the energy that came out of him, his heart and soul, he was just a real special musician.
Yeah, you can tell the musicians that are in the crowd by, so some of them, like when I see a guitarist that I really appreciate, I'll just be sitting there. Yeah, it'll look like I'm not having a great time, but I'm kind of watching the guitarist play, and while people are dancing around and doing crazy stuff around me, I'm just really appreciative and keeping my eye on a guitarist. So I'm sure he would have been one of those people that I kind of scoped out like that.
Yeah, you go on YouTube and you watch him play some guitar, and that's what really, because the first few times he's ever played for me was actually on acoustic guitar and on a dobro, a slide guitar.
Wow.
And I'm like, what is this? So Danny was country, Danny was rock and blues and soul. He had it all. He could do it all.
Now, how can regular folks support the foundation?
Well, go to DannyDeGennaro.org.com, and you could find different ways to do that, whether it's through our fundraising, or if you want to help us out with volunteering for our events. But all the money goes right back into the foundation, and it's always about to support these younger musicians and artists coming through. Eddie Miro, our president, when this all happened, Danny tragically, ever since he's been the Energizer Bunny, and just nonstop with this foundation to keep Danny's legacy going. And now we're bringing younger people through. We feel like his legacy is going to go on forever.
We have a contact name, Ed Miro.
Yep.
And his email, emiro, that's MERO at DannyDeGennaro.org, and he's also given out his phone number here. It's on the paper, so I'm going to read it.
Read it
That's
out.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It's 954-227-8186 for people who are interested in helping out with the foundation. Parents can encourage their talented musicians and artists to apply for the Bucks County Community College Music and Art Scholarships. So,
Correct.
to keep those going, because the foundation has been so generous throughout the years. Anything else you wanted to add, John?
Well, yeah, John, if anyone is interested in the record label and they want, maybe to send me an MP3, they could use my email address, which is johnchaykin@gmail.com, and that's JOHN, and I'll say this slower. So JOHNCHAYKIN as in Nancy @gmail.com.
John Chaykin, we thank you for joining us, and we wish you a lot of luck with all the excitement that's going over there, and hopefully things will be back to normal and you can really get some momentum with the group.
Well, John Ralston, thank you for your support. Really appreciate it, man.
Thanks, John. Take care.
You too, bud.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.